Yo, what's good? How we doing?
Hello, welcome back to another episode of Stay Ready Supply. I'm your host, Kaylee, and...
You know what I'm saying? It's your boy, Don Ready, Stay Ready. Mr. Young Greatness himself, man. I'm in the flesh. Let's get it.
We said we were going to start giving away merch for people who have commented on our YouTube videos.
Yeah.
So let's see who we're going to give away merch to. Let me pull up the pod from last week.
Let me see.
It's taking a second. Donovan, you post too many videos.
I know. I got a bunch on here. Let me see. I'm in here, though. Let's see.
Yep.
Here we go. Episode 3. Don Ready, Stay Ready. Prideless Chick. My guy. Yo, man, I love the performance you did at our school. It's crazy.
I don't know if he's a listener.
Yeah, I don't know if he listens to the pod.
Okay, 3 comments. We have 3 people to choose from.
Hey, let's see. I love Prideless Chicks. Don Ready, Stay Ready. Hey.
All
so
right.
I know she at least probably watched the beginning of it.
Yeah, so let's, I guess if you're watching this episode, that's your username, reach out to us. Find us on Instagram at Stay Ready Supply Co. And we'll figure out how to get you some merch.
Yes.
Today, what are we going to talk about today, Donon?
Oh my God, this topic's so heavy.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to talk about church hurt this week.
Who's never been church hurt before?
Everybody.
A lot of people.
And that's including us. You know, we've had some church hurt. So we want to talk about it. We're so big on like trying to be transparent with people about, you know, life experiences and also like offer biblical guidance so that people can find freedom. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, let's get to it.
Let's get to it.
Like, I'm going to preface this. I'm going to start telling the story. I'm going to preface this because I know you're going to talk a lot in this podcast and I want you to.
Okay.
So I want to paint a picture for you. So Kaylee and I get married. Mm-hmm. 2 different people from 2 different cultures. Now, I'm going to say this. Black church and white church, 2 different worlds.
Very different.
Right? 2 different worlds. We said this in a podcast before. White church is very much like people kind of do their thing. It's way less like confronting people in the open. And it's way more about like they kind of
talk about you behind your back.
Crazy work. Where black church is like, we're going to tell you about yourself and we're going to tell it to you to your face. Right? I can appreciate both. Right? Because there's a part of it that's like...
Well, both of it is
wrong.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But I can appreciate the good in both. Meaning that black church is very much like, hey, we want to just confront it head on. But sometimes, you know, way too aggressive. And sometimes they assume wrong. Right? And you'll hear some of that. And then in white church is very much like you gossiping behind people's back and you won't even tell them what's going on. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So those are the 2 worlds we came from, right? I also came from the world of like, you'll go to church and they'll preach they tail off, right? But then like after church, you may see a fight after church because
let's say throw hands in the parking lot.
You feel me? You know what I'm saying? And I've seen this. You know what I'm saying? I've lived this. So it can create a lot of confusion for people in church. Mm-hmm. And then, do you have any stories of like what it could be like?
No, I grew up in a very small church, and so we didn't see a whole lot of that, like talk trash about you when you're not around. I think there was a lot of things that went on behind the scenes because like you were obligated because it was kind of a small church. Like even if you weren't necessarily close to everyone, like you were obligated to go to the birthday parties, even if it was like a kid's church kid that you weren't really friends with, to keep things neat and clean. Like you don't want to look like the mean girl. And so I think it was just kind of little things like that, probably more so in the church that I grew up in.
Yeah. So we come from these 2 different worlds. We get married. When I tell you the cultures and the worlds collide like crazy. So Kaylee did the honorable thing, and she started going to church where I was already going to church. And you know, at first, like,
Well, I'll also say that I didn't really have like a home church at that time because I was away at college.
Yeah.
And then I also had a job as a server and we were required to work on Sunday mornings. And so I didn't have a home church at the time that we got married because I had been in college, and then whenever I came home from college, I just had to start working.
Yeah.
So I hadn't even been attending the church that I grew up in or the church that I would have called home at the time just because of life and the way it was moving at that moment.
Right. So she starts going to the church I was attending at the time. And honestly, at first it was like, that's how it always is. At first it's like going good. You know, she's serving in some different areas.
Well, I think it appeared to be going good, but you could already kind of see the workings of it not turning out so well.
Right.
Just because, like, one thing that I've noticed being married to you is that your kind of culture is I say hi to every black person in the restaurant, even if I can't get...
She'd be like, you know them? I'm like, nah.
I'm like, why did you wave at them? He's like, just because that's just what I do.
Yeah. So culture shock here is when you was younger, right? And you walk into a room and you don't say to the elders in the room, you don't speak, right? You might get snatched up.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying?
It's not just speak, it's speak to everyone individually. Like, hey, Nana. Hey, Granny. Hey, person over there in the corner that I've never noticed before. Right.
You know what I'm saying? They're probably going to be like, hey, baby, how you doing? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's where we come from.
And me, I came from kind of where you might walk into a room and just publicly like say hey, not to be rude, but it wasn't individual. And so whenever you would walk in, it was just like hey, and then you would kind of go sit in your corner and sink until you found someone that you felt comfortable talking to, someone you were excited to talk to, or until someone came and talked to you. So there wasn't a whole lot of conversation happening immediately when you walked into a room, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and then in black church, it was definitely like, you're disrespectful.
Especially if it was a room full of people you didn't know. So if I walked into my family, of course, on Thanksgiving, I'm going to walk in like, hey, oh my gosh, I haven't seen you in so long. How are you? But if I walk into a room full of strangers, I'm going to slowly walk in and like look around, scan the room to see if I recognize anybody, and then I'm going to go sit down and wait for someone to be friendly to me, or I'm going to see someone who looks approachable so that I can go be friendly to them, and now I'm not in the room by myself.
Right.
That's not how it...
Nah, you were like made to be friendly, right? You know what I'm saying? Like you was like, it was disrespectful. You know what I'm saying? It was disrespectful not to say ma'am or sir behind things. You know what I'm saying? Like in black church too. And black church, like it could be someone who is not your mom and they will address you, right? And you were made to be respectful, right? And there's some good things that come along with that, right? There's this like culture of she's like, I don't know if I disagree. I mean, I don't know if I agree.
I'm just listening.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
I'm not responding.
There's some
listening.
good things that come along with that because I think it's community, right?
Sure.
But there are also some very, very negative things that can come along with that, especially if you're someone who doesn't believe in the type of correction that you're using, right?
Yeah,
you know
so just to kind of speed this story along, I didn't know how to interact in black church, and I think that became very obvious in a short amount of time because I'd never been around a whole lot of black people either, and so I didn't understand there's a culture here that I'm not accustomed to, and honestly, no one was teaching that. In my life.
Yeah. Not even me. Yeah.
Yeah. Nobody told me those things. So.
Yeah, I think I was just expecting. Well,
I don't think you knew to.
Yeah.
I don't think either one of us knew that this was something that we needed to kind of address beforehand.
And I think we're talking about it after have walked through it, right?
Sure.
So now we see like, oh snap, this was a culture collide. You know what I'm saying? Like, and we didn't understand that whenever we were walking through it, it was just like hurt and you just felt it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
So, just to start out, this is before anything happened, before I got actual church hurt. This is just kind of
setting the stage.
Yeah, setting the stage. So, behind the scenes, I did not know this was happening. To me, I was just walking into church and going to my seat and sitting down and just kind of like minding my business. I wasn't rude. If someone came to me and spoke, I would speak, but I was in a situation where I didn't really know anyone there other than you and your mom. And so I didn't talk a lot, and I probably wasn't as friendly then as I am now. I think probably being in this situation has made me more friendly over the course of time because I've had to be. I've always been super chatty. Literally would talk the paint off the wall as a little girl. But whenever I would be in situations that I was not accustomed to, I would just kind of be like, well, let me just kind of wait and see what happens. Then I'll speak when spoken to because I'm nice. But I would walk into church and I wouldn't really speak because I didn't really know anybody, and I would just sit down. And I didn't know that culturally I was hurting people's feelings. And so behind the scenes, I was getting labeled as the rude white girl. And also, it wasn't like there was a whole lot of white people at this church. There were maybe four white people altogether, and the other 3 people had been going to church there for years and years and years.
Yeah.
And so I come in, I'm new, I'm young, and I'm quiet, and I think behind the scenes I quickly got labeled as the white girl who doesn't like black people.
Yeah.
Even though that wasn't true, I just didn't know how to respond to the situation that I was in culturally.
100%.
If that makes sense.
100%. No, I see it now. I see how the enemy wants to try to take the lack of understanding in something and like try to hurt people. You know what I'm saying? Like, and here's the truth I believe about church hurt. As I believe just as much as you were hurt, I believe there were other people in the church that were hurting too because of lack of understanding.
Sure.
Of cultural differences.
And
right?
Just so we're all clear, I think the magic of our relationship is that I think sometimes whenever a white girl or a white man and a black man or a black girl, like when there's an interracial relationship, you kind of leave your culture and like, you see black people kind of abandon African American culture, and you see to pick up more of that white culture, and you see white people kind of abandon white culture to pick up African American culture. And I think, whatever you think about that, I think that's fine, whatever you think about it. But I think the magic of our relationship is that you're very much black.
For sure.
And
Facts,
I am very much white. Like,
Facts.
I'm your typical, let's go get our Starbucks and listen to Taylor Swift. And I'm country, and I'm going to walk around in the grass barefooted, feel like the mud on your feet. I'm very much your typical white girl.
And I am very much... Yeah. She's like, what's he about to say here? He about to talk crazy. I am not. You know what I'm saying? But I am very much your typical black guy. I understand black culture. I was definitely raised to value myself, but I was definitely raised to in black culture, right? So I think that is an amazing conversation.
Sure.
And that's one of the most fruitful things that I enjoy about our relationship is that I get to fully be me as a black man and raised in black culture, and you get to fully be you as a white girl in the culture you were raised in. And it's honestly a joy that we've learned to accept each other's cultures, right? And how we do things. It wasn't a joy when we were learning it, but it's more of a joy now.
Well, we're still learning it.
And I'm excited for us in the future to be able to bring that to church.
Yeah, but I think it's the heart of God
Facts.
to have cultures intertwined. God is not white. God is not black. God is not Indian. God is not Asian. God is just God, and he loves all people, and he represents all people. And so I think in a interracial marriage, it's like, this is the heart of God.
100%.
To represent both cultures, because you and me both were made in the likeness and the image of God.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. And what I love different things about both cultures. Like black culture, we are very loud. Right? Like Kaylee would come to family reunion and she's like, I cannot even like well, there's so much
I think
loud.
The one of the first times I remember, like, I guess culture shock was when we were at your house, and it was just kind of a holiday. I think there was a whole bunch of people over there, and the people in the room were loud, but the kids in the room would turn the TV up because the people were loud. And so then the people got louder, and then the TV got louder. And at one point, I remember having to step outside just so I could hear my own thoughts, because the people in the room were on like 100 and the TV was on 100. At my house, when people walk into the room, the TV goes either like is muted or it's completely turned off or it's turned down. So we are loud. Like I think my family is loud, but we also are not competing with other volume in the room. We might be talking over each other, but we're not talking over the TV. And so that was the first time I can remember thinking, oh, this might be a little different than what I am used to.
For sure. I mean, we're loud, we're overly expressive, right? Super joyful, right? We're very family oriented. Like we gonna dance, we gonna, you know what I'm saying?
We don't dance.
You know what I'm saying? Like they not getting down like that. You know what I'm saying? Like we gonna barbecue, we gonna eat, we gonna enjoy company.
And also, this is also different. Your culture calls like barbecue, like the cookout is the barbecue. Whenever Donovan will say my mom was barbecuing, and that means she's cooking chicken, she's cooking steak. My family has a cookout. If we're having barbecue, that means we're having like pulled pork. And so those are just slight things that you don't realize, but are very different.
Facts. And it's amazing. I've literally come to enjoy both cultures, and I genuinely enjoy it whenever they collide.
I do too.
Right? You know what I'm saying?
Because it's the heart of God.
Right. Whenever my brothers or something have come to your family, and they kind of get to see what that's like, and then your mom and dad have literally came to reunions, and they kind of like, man, this is a lot going on. You know what I'm saying? Like it's a lot going on. So this happened in church, right? And just to get right to it.
How much of that do you want me to tell? All of it?
Transparency. Let's get it. Okay. Go ahead, tell it.
So I come into church. I'm young. I don't know how to be married. I think marriage plays a huge role in kind of what I experienced. But I didn't know how to be married. I did a lot of things wrong. I kind of would talk crazy to Donovan. And I didn't really care who was around, honestly. I wouldn't, that's probably the best way to say that. And I didn't realize that it was being viewed as disrespectful. I thought I was just having a conversation with Donovan. And, I didn't necessarily care that other people could hear it. But it would also, and it wasn't always mean. It would be like, no, I don't want you to do that. No, that hurts my feelings. Like, I'm not interested in doing that. For example, if Donovan would lead worship or be involved in youth group and they would plan a lock-in, I may be around when that stuff is happening, and then I would say out loud, no, I don't want to do that. No, I don't want you to do that. No, I don't think you should spend your time on that. And I would say that out loud. One thing I know now is not to do that, to kind of reserve those conversations for more of home. So I think we struggled in marriage. That's one thing. But then I think the first time I kind of experienced the church hurt. So I come in, I'm 22, I'm married, I love Jesus, I deeply love the Lord. I was saved at an early age. I never strayed from that. I never questioned if following God was something I wanted to do. I was locked in on the Lord at an early age. And so one of the convictions that I have had my whole entire life is that you should serve the church.
Serve the church, right.
Serve the church that you're a part of. And so one area that was easy for me to serve in was kids ministry. I had a phenomenal kids ministry growing up, and I felt like I knew a little bit about how to create a good kids ministry. You do not create a kids ministry. Also, while we're on the topic of culture, little white kids and little African American kids, the homes that they're raised in are very different.
Very different.
So building a kids ministry was more challenging at your church than it probably would have been at mine, just because of the type of music that I listened to is not the type of music that they wanted to listen to. The type of sermons that I listened to and would teach is not how they were used to hearing the word. And
the way that they discipline is not the same.
Discipline is huge, yeah.
Right? The way they, like the way it's like you listen, like in black culture, it's like you do what you say and you don't ask no questions.
Yeah.
Right? Where that's a little bit different from what I've seen, already. And we have that struggle, like even when we've had the boys, of like, he don't get to ask no questions.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And Kaylee's like, well, I want to hear what he think. And I'm like, I don't. you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to hear what he, you know what I'm saying? So it's very, in the African American culture, it's very much direct, and you got to demand respect.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
So I come in again, I'm married, I'm 22, I'm zealous. I'm also prophetic. Mm-hmm. And I think that in some ways played a role too. But because I have the heart's desire to serve my church and serve my community, I had the idea to plan a women's conference called Love Like the King. And we did an interest meeting, I guess would be the word, to see if anyone in the church would be interested in helping put together LLTK. At that point, I made it clear that this wasn't a church thing, that this was a Jesus thing, and I wanted to open it up to the community. At that point, too, I'd already talked to speakers, which would have been Donovan's mom, and I'd already talked to another girl that I went to college with to try to bring in. I wanted culture to be represented.
Right. My mom is black. Right. And then the girl other lady she brought in was white.
Right. So. And I also wanted it to be something that multiple generations could enjoy. So we had two little girls do some prophetic ministry, and we had an old lady play the piano. Like, we just wanted it to be multicultural, multi-generational. But I wanted it to be open to the community. But at church that day, they didn't have all that backstory. And so what I specifically needed help with was prayer workers, and I needed help serving lunch. And what that turned into, whenever I said, well, I know I need help with right now is people helping serve lunch. It turned into, and it didn't immediately turn into this, or didn't make it back to me immediately, but it did turn into, well, Kaylee just wants all the white people to be seen and all the black people to be the help. And so then it turned into, well, because she's asking the black people to serve in the kitchen, then she wants the black people to be the help and not be represented. They didn't know that I already had people from the church listed as prayer workers. They didn't know that I had people from the church already scheduled to speak. They didn't know that I had you already leading worship. And so I can see from, looking back, I can see how maybe they could have felt that way if they didn't have all the information. But also, on the flip side of that, I went to church with 4 white people. And so when I was asking the people in the church to help serve lunch, I wasn't only asking the black people. There was only black people to ask. Right. It's not like there was a mixed... this large mixed culture church. And so I didn't just splice out the black people and say, well, I'm going to ask these people to serve in the kitchen. It was like, no, these were the only people that go to church here. Yeah. So who else was I going to ask? Right. And so then it's kind of started on this trajectory. I think, well, Kaylee doesn't treat her husband well. Kaylee is racist, and I think that's kind of where the church hurt initially started.
Right. And then tell about the night.
So then, well, a little backstory of the conference. I actually didn't have the church help me at all, because I wanted to stay as far away from the idea that I was racist as possible. And so I didn't have people from the church help at all, other than the people who were close to me and knew my heart. And so like me, my mom, my best friend, her mom, and a couple people from the church that did not feel that way, we kind of just rallied together, all 6 of us, to pull the conference off. And so that kind of is what started this trajectory of church hurt. And I thought that I had gotten over it, until one night when I saw a post on social media. And I won't even say what the post was, but it was a post that just kind of ripped the Band-Aid off my heart and reminded me that I am not healed from this. So I started to kind of grieve the idea that people think that I dislike black people. And I was struggling with that. And then because I'm prophetic, I love the Lord, I'm still trying to show up for my church in every way possible, even though my feelings are a little hurt, but not all the way hurt. I'm just struggling a little bit. And we had this meeting every Sunday night, this minister's class every Sunday night.
It was kind of like discipleship.
Yeah, it was. And we would do like prophetic training, and we would learn. One thing I remember learning was how to prepare a sermon, because all of the ministers in that class would be asked to speak on occasion. And it was great. I mean, the class in general was great, except for one night. The person who was leading the class said, I want you guys to go around. There was like 8 or 9 of us in the class. I want you to go around and tell each other what you think would be hindrances to each other's ministry. And to everyone else in the class, they would say things like, you have 8 kids. It's going to be difficult for you to participate in ministry. To another girl, they said, you're insecure and you need to be more confident about how the Lord can use you. And then to me, I was told that I was rude, disrespectful. I didn't know how to treat people, and I was the reason that my husband's ministry would never be successful. And I was like, oh, it literally felt like this group of people had been like lying in wait, so that waiting for the opportunity so they could tell me what they really thought about me, because all these frustrations from the women's conference, from how they perceive I treat Donovan, from how zealous I am in church, even though I have all these sin problems going on. It's like they were waiting for the moment that they could pounce and tell me how big of a failure I am.
Right. So I want to jump in here because I want to do 2 things. One, I want to say Kaylee has done so much work, because it wasn't that everything that they were saying in that meeting was a lie and completely wrong. It was delivered with a lack of patience and grace, right? You know what I'm saying? Like Kaylee has said many times, like, I can see some of the stuff that they're saying.
I definitely probably was rude because I was, but no one asked why.
Right. Right. Well, it wasn't delivered with patience and grace.
Right.
It wasn't delivered with the effort of like, hey, let's help her try to find.
Well, I think like a question that could have been asked is, why do you talk to Donovan the way that you do sometimes? And then they would have found, oh, marriage is misery and I hate it and I feel like I've made the worst mistake of my life by getting married.
Yeah.
And then there could have been some like, well, let's help you with this. Like I was 22 years old.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think, but one thing I don't want to do is I don't want to negate it, like the things that they were saying as if there was no truth to that. It's like, oh, the church was 100% wrong. They didn't get any of it right. Nothing like that. That's not it. But on the other side, I also want to say a problem that I have voiced with Kaylee a ton of times is sometimes I believe, and I'm saying this confidently, in 4K, sometimes I believe the black church wants to run and scream racism at every single form of injustice that they feel like they experience. What I'm meaning is is that instead of us looking at something and saying, maybe someone doesn't understand and let me try to redeem them with grace and patience, we say, this is racism and we don't want them to be a part of what we're doing. Not only do I feel like we do this in Black church, but I feel like we do this in Black culture. And I do not believe that it's godly. I believe we end up hurting people in the opposite direction, and we end up creating a space where no one wants to come in the center, right? And lock arms for us to figure out this cultural divide that has been the history of America for a long time.
And
Instead of approaching it on both sides with patience and grace and say, you know what, at the end of the day, all of us are image bearers who are made in the image of God, right? Instead of saying that, and we're going to try to understand each other's cultures and have grace for the lack of understanding and things that could feel like prejudice and racism, but may just be a lack of understanding. Instead of writing a whole race off and saying this is just racism, right? Instead of doing that, we can approach it with patience and grace and say, hey, this may just be how someone was raised in their culture, right? And I want to approach that with patience and grace and give them an opportunity to grow,
be better.
And learn.
I think for me, and I don't take away from the fact that me asking the Black people in the church to participate in the women's conference and serve lunch, I can see how that was hurtful. I can see that. But I think my error was that it wasn't that I was racist. I was naive. And I didn't understand that I need to say things in a certain way to prevent people from getting hurt. I didn't know. I didn't know that was an offense to them because I haven't lived the life that they've lived.
Yeah.
And this is probably like the definition of like white privilege, but I didn't know. And without having the conversations like this, where a Black person is willing to say, sometimes what you do is hurtful because you do it without thinking. You don't know what you don't know.
Right.
And that's not an excuse.
Right.
But it's true. You don't know what you don't know. And one thing that I love is like, when we have kids, we're going to be able to teach them how to be respectful of both cultures.
And what's beautiful is that me and you, it actually drew us closer because I seen your pain. But then I immediately started to see the scheme of the enemy. And I was like, got you. This is his plan. Right? Is for us to not understand each other's history. So, and then for us to not have patience and grace. And us to maintain being divided. Lecrae even says in the song, the most segregated
time of day is Sunday service. And then he says, so what do you think that says about the God you worship?
So you think you think there are sections in the kingdom?
Sure.
Where this is where the Black people go and this is where the white people go?
Yeah.
Absolutely not. Yeah. Or this is where the Hispanic people go? Absolutely not. Right? No. We are all in one accord together. You think that you think that when we get to heaven, I had this conversation the other day. You think that when we get to heaven, our race and our culture is even going to matter.
Right.
When we stand in the beauty of who God is, you think that our culture is even going to matter when we stand in the presence with the King? Like, what I'm meaning is, do you think that that's going to reign supreme above the majesty of the Lord?
Yeah.
I do not believe that. I believe that when we stand before the King, only thing that's going to matter to us is kingdom culture. Only thing that's going to matter to us.
Well, I think that's what should matter to us now.
Facts.
Because
Facts.
I think, we kind of said it in an earlier podcast, but when we first got married, you're here, I'm here, God is here. As we started pursuing God, we got closer. And I think that's the same like culture. Like, oh, the Mexicans are pursuing God. The African Americans are pursuing God. The white people are pursuing God. The whatever. The Indians are Indian like indigenous people. But I mean Indian too, like people from India. We're all pursuing God, and as we as a culture fall back in love with Jesus, like it
creates a new culture.
It creates a new culture of one that is Christ-like.
Right.
And when we're all 100% being like Christ, there is no racism. There is no white supremacy. There is no, oh, I'm better than you because of this. Or it's like, no, we're we love Jesus and we're in pursuit of the heart of God, and we were all created in the image of God.
Right.
We were all created in his image.
Facts. So like as this story goes on, like after this happens that night, Kaylee gets in the car with me. We had one car. She gets in the car like weeping. At this point, she's like, I don't want to go to church here anymore. I am so hurt. I don't know how to. We hadn't worked through all of this, right? And this is healing that I want to say to someone is it is very, very hard for you to heal in a place that you were hurt.
It is.
I watched that. And
I sobbed.
Yeah.
For almost a year.
Yeah.
Every single Sunday, I was like, please don't make me go. I hate going to church there. I don't want to go to church at all. Please don't make me go. And I would literally, sometimes I would walk in, was still crying, and I would sit in a room, in that little side room, where there weren't people. It was just like couches, and I would sit isolated by myself and cry until it was time for church to start. After church started, I would move to the back row because I wanted to be in the service. If I'm going to be there, I'm going to be in the service. I'm not going to waste my time coming and not sit in. And I would move to the back row, and I would still sit in the very back row and weep the whole entire time church was going on.
Yep.
I hated it so bad.
Yep.
Because I felt hated. I'm like, my marriage was struggling. We didn't have any money. And, you
felt like you didn't have the local church to support you either.
Yep.
Right? You know what I'm saying? So as this happened, I required Kaylee to still go to church, meaning that I pushed her to go to church, right? Because I was like, we don't run from the church, right? We already had that ingrained.
And it was like we don't run from hurt, like we face it head on.
Right, we face hurt head on. We've always kind of had that heart that we want to do that, right? But I made a mistake. I made Kaylee stay in a place that she was hurt too long. Right. And I think the image of who she was, I did not protect the image of who Kaylee was. And I grieved that so bad. Like that hurt because I was like, I required my wife to stay in a place she did not have room to grow because of the amount of pain that she was experiencing. Yeah. Right. And I felt like I got with the Lord because like it caused our marriage to really struggle. And I got with the Lord, and the Lord's like, Don, she's not going to be able to heal in the place she was hurt. You got to figure something else out. This is something I know about the Lord. And so I started to say, okay, Lord, give me the answers. Mm-hmm. Right? I was like, help me understand. And we started to see God literally open up a way for us to be able to move churches and move communities. Yep. Right? That we were in. So we lived in an apartment. Y'all have heard this in another podcast. A little smaller 1-bedroom apartment with not even a kitchen in it. Joint's crazy. But God created an opportunity for us to live in the house that we're shooting this podcast in right now. Yep. It was like 10, 12 miles from the community that we were in. And at around the same time, the pastor we were doing Sunday morning at one church and then going to another church. So the pastor of the Sunday morning church was like, hey, I'm pastoring. I have a service at 11. Would you want to be the worship leader
for the 11 o'clock
at the 11 o'clock service? And I was like, oh God, this is an opportunity for us to go. And
it was in the same community in the house that we just
we're literally 1 minute from the church. Yeah. It was in that same community. So I was like, oh God, I started praying like, Lord, create a way, for us to move. And like within like 2 or 3 months, we were gone and we were at the other church. And we did it the right way. We sat down with the pastors of the church we were in, and we didn't just run. Yeah. Right. We said, hey, we're gonna leave this. This has been hard because of this reason. And when I tell you that the pastors of that church,
they're phenomenal. They're still some of our favorite people.
Oh my gosh, we go and talk to them like about when we're struggling or we have something going on. We still go talk
talk to them in general. They're just phenomenal people.
Yeah, and they have genuinely in the church. They have genuinely like. When I say they have addressed some of those things in sermons that I've seen them preach. When we've been in the room, when we've come and visited, right, they have addressed those things publicly. Like where I'm sitting there like, it's a little uncomfortable.
Like done everything but call our names.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
Like they've addressed things in such a way where you know exactly what and who they're talking about.
Yeah. So, and that's been so sweet, and it feels redeeming, and it feels like grace, and it feels like love, and it feels like healing.
And right? I would still, like, even now, if the Lord said go back to church there was a time where I would not have. But now I'm like, I would go back and love and serve those people really, really well.
Yeah.
I would love to love and serve them, even if we didn't go back to church there, just because I'm like, man, the girl that I was then and the girl that I am now,
facts.
I don't even know. Like, those two girls have never met.
Right.
And they probably wouldn't even be friends if they did meet.
Facts. Facts. You know what I'm saying?
Like,
so
me, 31-year-old me, and 22-year-old me would literally,
probably have beef with each other.
Oh, yeah. Current me and past me would not be getting along. I would be like, girl, you are crazy.
Yeah. So.
And you're naive. And you need to get it together.
She's still trying to. I'm sitting there about to move on, and she's like, nah, I got to talk to 22-year-old me real quick. You know what I'm saying? We got to have a conversation. So we moved to this other church, and now the roles are reversed. The cultures are reversed. We got like 5 more minutes, so I'm gonna try to round it up. But the roles are reversed. We're like, this is a predominantly white church. I don't think there's a single black member at this church.
Not at the time. No, the girl's husband, the dad.
Oh yes. So there was one black person at the church, and now I am stepping into more of white church, right? Because and that came with its challenges, especially with me. I was stepped into leadership kind of immediately, right? And Lord, when I tell you,
the style of music
oh
they
my
were
gosh,
used to listening to.
It was like super Southern gospel, which I love Southern gospel, so that wasn't a problem. But the pastor literally came to me, and he was like, "Hey,
no, it was Southern gospel, like I'll fly away, oh glory."
Yes. So I started with that, right? I wanted to come in, and I didn't want to abandon their culture immediately. And the pastor was just brave to put a black man on the platform in a predominantly white church that was Southern gospel. Super brave.
And Donovan wore shorts to church, and they hated
that I wore shorts to church. They were like, yo, and it was shorts like with the designs on them, like very black culture.
And they were like cut off.
Yeah,
like
very black culture shorts. Energy. You know what I'm saying, with like clothing and stuff. And they were like, yeah, we can't. We don't like this. Some of them left. No, yeah, people left the church. Yeah, it was. I mean, they had members, and I say probably
like deacons. I'd say
it was definitely deacons. They left the church, and then so not only was I coming in and I was changing the culture with like the clothes I was wearing, I was also changing the culture musically, right? And I remember this day, and it was so beautiful because I felt so loved by the pastor, right? And he was like, "Hey, the music that you're doing right now." The Southern gospel, like you're trying to mix that in, stop doing that. He was like, I want you to go the style of music. CCM, like I love CCM music. And I love gospel music too. Yep. Those are my 2 favorites. And he was like, I want you to do that. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I'm in there, every praise is to our God. You know what I'm saying? I'm like bringing this gospel edge, but then I'm also like, what a beautiful name. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm bringing this CCM gospel kind of mix. People left the church. The pastor did not care.
But our church has grown significantly.
Oh, it's grown. It's grown. And it's only going to grow even more.
We went from probably 40 or 50 regularly to close to 80.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, to now we have 80, 100 with kids. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah, we had 24 kids in our kids' church on Sunday.
Bro, I think they said the attendance was like 105 or something like that. Was it? Yeah, and it's only going to grow.
It's going to grow.
You know what I'm saying? So I mean,
God
I
is
believe
honoring.
in a couple years we're going to have a couple hundred there. But it's just been chiseling, pruning. You know what I'm saying? Away at it. Over the last couple of years. I think we've been there 5 years now.
So let me, we have to wrap up, but let me just kind of give a little bit of insight, because I know that this is one of the questions, is how did you overcome church hurt? I think that's one of the questions that people ask me a lot whenever this conversation comes up. And I think, one, honestly, realizing that the things that were said about me were probably had some truth to them, and I had to confront those things. Why am I rude? Am I arrogant? Do I have pride? Let me deal with that. Let's say rude, disrespectful. You don't know how to speak to people. Is that true? Do I need to do better at learning to speak to people? That's true. I especially needed to do better at learning how to speak to people in a different culture, because the way you speak to all people is not the same way the way I speak to this person may not be the way I need to speak to this person. Mm-hmm. And so that was true. I didn't know how to speak to people well. And then I had to confront, okay, am I the reason that my husband's ministry would never be successful? And I think Donovan would say no, because you're not that strong. But the truth is that as a wife, you have the power to really support your man or to tear your man down.
Facts.
And continuing along the trajectory that I was on without the intervention of Christ, I do not believe that Don Reddy would be where Don Reddy is today. I think Don Reddy could have eventually got there, but it would have taken a lot longer if I had not figured out how to partner with God to see His goodness in my life.
Yeah.
And so I think if you've struggled with church hurt, the answer, I think, identify why, because not everyone, sometimes church leadership hurts you. I wasn't hurt by leadership. I was hurt by people within that. And so I think asking yourself, well, why am I church hurt? But then also saying, okay, are any of the things that were said about me or done to me, do they hold truth to them? And then identifying that, and then just literally being able and willing and open to and vulnerable to laying laid bare before the Lord and letting Him strip away things that are not supposed to be there, because I was hurting, and because I was hurting, I didn't want to go to church, but I could have held on to pride and said, no, they're absolutely wrong. I'm never going to have anything to do with these people again. I hate them, and I hate whatever. But I didn't want to take that approach. I wanted to say, God, if it's true, then teach me how to deal with it.
Right.
So
100%. And if I were to say anything to churches before we get done is be patient with one another. The word actually says that, bro. Like in when it talks about how to deal with people within the church, it says, if you feel like your brother's in sin and they do something, recover them gently. Mm-hmm. Right? And not this over judgmental spirit where you just like rip people down.
Yeah.
Right? And that's on both. That's both. That has nothing to do with culture. That has everything to do with
the church.
Right?
Yeah, because I think there's a lot of white people who didn't get hurt in a church that represented a different culture than them. There's a lot of white people who have been hurt in their white church.
Yeah.
There's a lot of African American people who have been hurt in their African American church.
Yep.
I think, I know personal testimonies of people that have been hurt in the church that they were in, and it's not just one culture. It's not one-sided. I believe God gave me the story that He did and allowed me to walk through it, because I can speak to it from a different culture perspective and hopefully help bridge the gap among cultures. I think that's my heart, is to see people of all cultures and races and ages love and become more like Jesus. Yep. But that's not to say there are white people who have been hurt by their church and black people who have been hurt in their church, and Hispanic people who have been hurt in the Hispanic church. It's church hurt goes beyond race and culture and age, because the heart of Satan is that
to divide people,
and to make you where you don't want to go to church.
Yep.
So,
and the very last thing I would say is, if I'm gonna say two things to two different groups of people. One, if you are the church, grace and patience and love towards people, especially people you don't agree with. The word talks about it's easy to love someone who loves you, but it's harder to love someone who doesn't believe all the things you believe, who doesn't have the truth or the fruit that you feel like they should have. So you try to force it on them or hold them accountable beyond what they can bear.
Yeah.
Right. And then I would say to people who have been church hurt, one, I don't want to rob anyone from being in a bad culture. Some churches are bad and they should be left. Right.
That's probably true.
But some churches are not bad. You just got hurt. Right. Yeah. Do not run from the church. Do not run from the people of God. We were made for community.
Do not run from the capital C church. Mm-hmm. If you need to leave the church that you were hurt in, obviously lay that at the feet of Jesus and do that. But don't run from the capital C church, because not all churches are going to hurt you. And I promise, as you lean into Jesus in a church that gives space for you to lean into Jesus, he's going to heal that.
Yeah, he'll heal that. And the goal is that as we become more healed, we'll be able to serve the kingdom.
Absolutely.
Right? The big C church, the kingdom.
Absolutely.
And that's what we want to get to. So do not abandon the church just because you maybe were in a bad church or there was a lack of understanding and they hurt you. Right? Do not run from the big C church. Run to Jesus and find you another community. Visit a few churches. Find you a community that you feel like
you can heal in. Yeah.
That you can heal in. Be in that community. That may mean stepping down from serving if you're someone that really loves to serve for some months so that you can just get acquainted and love the church again, right? And then you can step back in to serving once that happens. So I want to be open and transparent. Like, I'm going to turn this into 2 episodes. Okay. But I want to be open and transparent and saying...
So we're just going to keep talking then?
No. I'm going to say this. If you are dealing with church hurt and you just want to chat about it, you know what I'm saying? DM us.
Please.
Right? Because we've experienced some church hurt that I think that we have the opportunity to talk about and really help bring some healing to people and help give some direction with that. So DM us and we be willing to chat about that. That's something Absolutely. I think me and you 100% be willing to chat about.
I'm willing to chat about anything.
DM Stay Ready Supply. If you have any questions about this topic.
Thank you for joining. Make sure you leave a comment your shirts, comment something if you're interested in free merch to let us know. Obviously, commenting, sharing, rating the podcast, all the things helps it push us out to more people. So if you love this podcast, you've been listening, comment to let us know, and comment topics that you want us to talk about. So we're open books, man. We're an open book. So thanks for listening, and we'll see you in the next one.
All right.